This weekend, starting on Friday, June 19th at 8 a.m. local time until Wednesday, June 24th at 10 p.m. local time, the Solstice Event is returning in Pokemon Go. Now, one aspect of the Solstice Event that you should be aware of is that it is 2 times catch Stardust. That's one of the in-game bonuses for the event. So in this video, we're going to be covering everything that you need to know to make the most of the Solstice Event, including what Pokemon you should be focused on catching for use in PvP. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, trainers. My name is Oro Chris. I am your catching coach. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We do appreciate you stopping by. If you're interested in Pokemon Go, competitive PvP, and basically anything Pokemon related, consider subscribing. Now, as far as the event is concerned, here we are on PokemonGoLive.com, and we can see that the Solstice themed event as well as the Bug Out event were announced in combination. We'll be covering the Bug Out event in a separate video once that is a little bit closer to going on launch. But as far as the Solstice event is concerned, as we mentioned, it's going to be running from Friday, June 19th at 8 a.m. local time until Wednesday, June 24th at 10 p.m. local time. And in addition to that, they tell us that Pokemon associated with the Sun and the Moon are going to be appearing more frequently in the wild, as well as in raids and eggs. Now, because of the joys of time zones, certain parts of the world are already past that 8 a.m. start time, so we already have gotten reports about what Pokemon are spawning more frequently in the wild. Those include Clefairy, Houndour, Growlithe, Lunatone, as well as Solrock, Sunkern, and Teddiursa. There were some initial reports of Magmar, but it does not appear that that has been for sure solidified. If you do find a Magmar in the wild, that is one Pokemon that is kind of a deviation from the standard rule set as far as shinies are concerned. Typically, only the pre-evolution of a Pokemon, if its shiny has been released, can be shiny in the wild. For example, you will not find a shiny Ivysaur in the wild because Bulbasaur, the pre-evolution, is available as a shiny. Magmar, because the baby Pokemon, Magby, is available as a shiny in eggs. Typically, Magmar would not be available as a shiny Pokemon in a wild encounter. But because of a recent change, a recent event where Magmar was featured, it now can be shiny in the wild, and that is still ongoing even though that event ended. So if you do see a Magmar, be sure to check whether or not it is a shiny Magmar, but Magmar has not been confirmed as a event spawn thus far. As far as these other Pokemon, we do know from the announcement that Clefairy is going to be treated similarly as what I was just mentioning with regard to Magmar. Clefairy typically would not be available in the wild in an encounter as a shiny Pokemon because Cleffa, its pre-evolution, is available as a shiny in eggs. As part of this event, Clefairy is a featured shiny eligible Pokemon as far as wild encounters are concerned. So do be sure to get out there and be checking those Clefairy to try to find a shiny. As far as PvP is concerned, for these particular Pokemon, the featured Pokemon, there are really only 2 Pokemon in this list as far as boosted Pokemon are concerned that have really strong PvP viability. The first is Clefairy evolving into Clefable in both the Great League, but especially the Ultra League. Clefable is a very strong Fairy-type attacker. I'm here at pvpoke.com looking at the Great League rankings, and we can see that Clefable is ranked 50th overall in the Great League, with important wins over Altaria, even beating out Swampert, Deoxys Defense Form even. That is a solid win. Part of that being Clefairy as a Fairy type is going to be resisting the counter damage from Deoxys, a fighting type move, so that is definitely a big reason for that win. Able to pull out wins against Toxicroak, even though that poison typing having access to Sludge Bomb, it appears that Toxicroak a little bit too frail to last long enough to get to that Sludge Bomb, and it goes down in that matchup. And also an important win against Umbreon. So overall, a very solid Pokemon in the Great League. But as far as the Ultra League is concerned, ranked 17th overall. And part of the reason that Clefable is so highly regarded in the Ultra League is because 100% Clefable maxes out just under that CP threshold, the CP cap for the Ultra League. And as a result, you can even best buddy this Pokemon to really maximize its stats and have it come in right underneath that 2500 cap for the Ultra League. And in a move shakeup sometime last year, Clefable was given Meteor Mash. What that means is that Steel type attack is going to hit those other fairies for super effective damage. So it really is well situated in the Ultra League, able to hit those other fairies such as Togekiss or Granbull. We did cover Granbull in a separate video. I'll put a link up to that up above, but it's able to hit those other fairies for super effective damage, and that is really important in a format like the Ultra League where Dragon Pokemon like Giratina are so prevalent. Having access to a fairy type that's going to be able to take out Pokemon like Giratina, as well as have an answer for the other fairies that are out to try to catch a Giratina, that is definitely a good situation for a Pokemon like Clefable to really shine. Now, of course, Clefable going to have some tough matchups against those Steel types like Registeel, as well as potentially Alolan Muck. Having access to a Poison type attack, Alolan Muck is a Pokemon that the fairies really have to be on the watch for. And because its stats max out just under that CP threshold for Ultra League, it really doesn't have the base stats necessary to succeed in the Master League. So during this event, it's going to be very important to be looking for 2 types of IV combinations for Clefable. In the Great League, you're going to be looking for a Pokemon, typically a IV combination that has a lower attack stat and a higher defense and HP stat. The reason being that lower attack stat is going to enable it to have a higher base stat product in the Great League, where the CP threshold is only 1500, but this Pokemon, as we just mentioned, can power up past 1500. In the Ultra League, however, because this Pokemon maxes out below the CP cap for the Ultra League, you're going to be looking for something as close to a 100% IV Pokemon to make the most of its Ultra League potential. The other Pokemon that really shines as far as PvP is concerned is going to be Teddiursa evolving into Ursaring. So we're here back on pvpoke.com, and as we can see in the Ultra League, ranked 142nd overall, but because of its normal typing and access to attacks like Shadow Claw as well as Counter, this Pokemon can be used to counter Pokemon like Registeel, or with Shadow Claw, as a normal type, Ursaring is going to have immunity tier resistance to ghost type attacks from Pokemon like Giratina. And as a result, it can really succeed in that league, being able to both swap into a team and have answers for both Registeel as well as Giratina. Now, part of the reason that I bring up both Registeel and Giratina, even though we can see that Registeel is a losing matchup, part of the reason being is that this Ursaring is running Shadow Claw. You can have it running Counter, and that fighting type damage does help the Registeel matchup. But really, in the Giratina matchup, if you're able to lock up those 2 Pokemon, match that Ursaring up against Giratina, you're able to farm up so much extra energy in that matchup because it's such a strong matchup for Ursaring, that next you can have that reserved energy ready for a Pokemon like Registeel in the back. Now, I should mention that the boosted spawns and the information that I'm gathering here was collected from travelers on TheSilphRoad on their subreddit. So if you are not familiar, be sure to check out TheSilphRoad. I will put a link to the TheSilphRoad's subreddit in the description down below. Now, as far as the remainder of these Pokemon are concerned, outside of Clefairy and Teddiursa and their evolutions, Clefable and Ursaring, none of these Pokemon really have a strong place in any of the 3 leagues in Go Battle League or any PvP meta generally. But I will say that the remainder of these Pokemon all have shiny forms available in-game currently. So be sure to be out there checking as many shinies as possible, especially Lunatone and Solrock. Those are typically 2 of the rarer Pokemon out in wild spawns generally. And because Solrock is going to be rotating to the Eastern Hemisphere and we're going to be getting Lunatone, you're going to want to try your best to get that shiny Solrock before it ultimately rotates at the end of the event. As far as field research is concerned, I'm here on TheSilphRoad.com, not the subreddit, actually TheSilphRoad.com. They have a great tasks menu that shows you what research tasks are available currently in the game. And we can see the event tasks for the Solstice event include, we can see catch 7 different species of Pokemon for an Alolan Vulpix. The evolution of Alolan Vulpix, Alolan Ninetales, is a very strong Pokemon in the Great League meta. It's a Fairy and Ice-type Pokemon, has access to Charm, as well as some Ice-type attacks. Recently got added Psyshock, so that Pokemon overall is definitely a viable contender in the Great League. If you do not have one already, be sure to be looking for this particular task. And this Pokemon also has a shiny variant available, so be on the lookout for that as well. Earn a candy walking with your buddy. will reward a Sunkern. Give your buddy a treat will reward a Clefairy. Now this is an especially important one because Pokemon rewarded from a research encounter or from raids or from eggs, they all have a common floor for IVs. They have a minimum floor of a 10 IV, and as a result, you have a much greater likelihood of getting a good IV version of a Pokemon in one of these encounters as opposed to a wild encounter, where the floor is going to be typically 0, 0, 0 for each of the 3 IVs. So look for a give your buddy a treat, very simple task to complete, and that's going to give you an opportunity to get a higher IV version of Clefairy, which would make a much better Ultra League version for Clefable. Catch 3 Fire-type Pokemon is going to reward a Solrock, and then catch 3 Dark-type Pokemon rewards the Lunatone. And as we mentioned, all of these Pokemon have a shiny version available currently in the game. Now, 3 other non-event field research that I will call out to your attention include Hatch an Egg for a Palpitoad, evolve a Pokemon for potentially an Eevee or a Sandslash, and then win a raid for Marshtomp. The reason is the potential to get an evolved form of a Pokemon from each of these 3 tasks. Now, if you were not aware, in your field research, once you collect a field research, you don't necessarily have to catch the particular reward Pokemon. Now, what I mean by that is if you just start the encounter, here we have got a Hippopotas, just run away, and what's going to happen is that Pokemon is now going to be a part of or banked in a stack of unclaimed field research rewards. So now I can come back and a Combuskin that I had from a prior task that I had not caught is waiting here ready for me. And this evolved form Pokemon, evolved forms, you get greater amounts of Stardust, 2 times the amount of Stardust that you would have got from the pre-evolved form. Editing Chris here. During the review process, I realized that I was giving you some outdated information. It used to be 2 times Stardust for evolved forms when we were in the Gen 1 days. At Gen 2's release, I believe, this was changed to evolved forms for a Stage 1 evolution, the Pidgeotos, the Ivysaurs, the Wartortles of the world. Those Pokemon now reward 300 Stardust per catch. Pre-evolved forms, the Torchics, the Bulbasaurs, the Squirtles, those are 100 without a weather bonus or anything else. And then a Stage 2 Pokemon, the Blastoise, the Blaziken, things like that, those are 500 Stardust per catch. So, the numbers I'm about to give you during the video, those are going to be off. For a evolved form like Combuskin, as we're showing in the video, that's going to be 300 Stardust. And now with a 3 times bonus during Community Day or a 2 times Stardust bonus during the event, you're now going to be able to really get the most out of a star piece by using Editing Chris here. I realized that I was giving you some outdated information about the numbers. In Gen 1, evolved forms, a Stage 1 like a Pidgeotto or an Ivysaur, that Pokemon would give you 2 times the pre-evolution's Stardust amount. In Generation 2, those numbers changed to be a flat 300 Stardust for a Stage 1 evolution. So the Ivysaurs, the Wartortle, those Pokemon are 300 now, as the Combuskin would be in this video. The Stage 2 Pokemon now reward 500 Stardust per catch. So during a 2 times bonus Stardust event like the Solstice event that we're in right now, or during Community Day where it's 3 times Stardust, saving or banking some evolved form catches is going to be a great way to get extra Stardust. Moreover, including all of those banked encounters with evolved form Pokemon while a star piece is on, a star piece is going to increase that. It's a 1.5 times Stardust multiplier. So that's definitely going to be the best way to get the most Stardust during the both Community Day and during the Solstice event. Now back to the video. So if a Torchic would give you 100 Stardust, a Combuskin is now going to give you 200 Stardust. Now during an event where Stardust is 2 times for catch Stardust, catching an evolved form is going to be doubly important. So banking those field research tasks, things like win a raid, hatch an egg, or evolve a Pokemon. If you can bank a lot of evolved forms, put on one star piece during a half an hour, and then catch all of those banked rewards, you're going to be able to earn a lot of Stardust on one star piece. So if you're able to bank a lot of these field research tasks that reward evolved form Pokemon, you can then bank up to 100. They'll stack up to 100 deep, those types of encounters like this Combuskin here. After 100, they'll start to fall off, so you want to keep track of how many you are not catching and banking in this stack of field research. But once you do that, put on a star piece and catch all the evolved forms, either during an event like this where it's 2 times bonus Stardust, or during Community Day on Saturday, during that 6-hour window, it's going to be 3 times Stardust. So that's definitely going to be a great opportunity to get the most out of one star piece and really maximize your gameplay. As far as raid bosses are concerned for the Solstice event, the folks over at PokeFans created this infographic. I will put a link to the Silph Road post where they shared it. As far as PvP is concerned, in Tier 1, Vulpix is a very strong option. As we mentioned, Alolan Ninetales very strong in the Great League meta. But Timber, if you can find a solid IV version of Timber in the Master League, its evolved form, the Stage 2 evolution, Conkeldurr, is a very strong option in the Master League, currently being able to, as a fighting type, hit for super effective damage into Pokemon like Darkrai, Dialga, Regice, Excadrill, very strong right now in the Master League meta. In Tier 2, Mawile has some potential play. If you don't have a lot of Mawile candy, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of buzz around potentially a Shadow Mawile with Fire Fang or Ice Fang as the fast move. Definitely has some potential. And as we mentioned in yesterday's video, I will put a link up above to that. During a Pokemon Presents, there was an announcement that Mega Evolutions are coming to Pokemon Go, and Mawile is one Pokemon that in the main series games does have a Mega Evolution. So be looking out for those particular Pokemon. Pin up a Mawile, you're definitely going to want potentially a lot of candy for that Pokemon because that may be something worth investing in down the road. In Tier 3, a very solid option in the Great League meta is Alolan Raichu. If you do not have a good IV version of Alolan Raichu, raid that Pokemon, try to find one, trade with a friend, re-roll the IVs if necessary, but having a low attack stat on that Pokemon and then a little bit higher defense and HP IV is definitely going to give it a little bit more survivability. And because it has access now to Grass Knot, it is definitely in a strong place in the Great League meta. And then in Tier 4, Alolan Marowak is a very strong candidate in the Great League meta. Its ghost typing gives it great matchups against the psychic types, as well as Deoxys defense form. And then having now access to a fire fast move that does solid damage gives it a great matchup against Pokemon like Skarmory, as well as Registeel. So definitely a strong candidate. You definitely want to be looking for that Pokemon if you don't have one already prepared for the Great League. Now, as we mentioned, Lunatone and Solrock are going to be transitioning to different hemispheres, both at the end of this event as well as during the event. The first 2 days, they're going to be maintaining their normal frequency as far as in the Western Hemisphere right now, we have exclusively Solrock. We're going to be having Solrock spawning more frequently in the wild from Sunday to Monday. They tell us that Lunatone and Solrock will be appearing more frequently in the wild everywhere. So both hemispheres in both places during those 2 days, and then from Tuesday and Wednesday, the last 2 days of the event, they'll be transitioning. We'll now have on the Western Hemisphere more frequent spawns of Lunatone, and Solrock will be appearing more frequently in the Eastern Hemisphere. And then once the event is over, Lunatone will stay in the Western Hemisphere, and Solrock will be staying in the Eastern Hemisphere. I hope that I've been able to get you as excited and as prepared as you need to be to make the most of the Solstice event. I think that any time that they give us bonus Stardust, that is the start of a great event in my book. Thank you for sticking around until the end of the video. This video here is going to be a video recommended by YouTube, and this video here is going to be the most recent video uploaded here on the channel. But as always, thank you for watching and happy catching.